Let's talk about Sleepaway Camp. Now, I don't know if any of y'all in here have seen the movie. The movie came out in 1983. That was over 40 years ago, 42 years ago, I would say. Would it be a bad thing if we spoiled the ending, the twist ending, or whatever the case is, or does everybody in here already know the twist ending? Which I know some people are like, when I went to go see the film, I can't remember if it was earlier this year or late last year going into this year, but IFC in on West 4th Street in the West Village. They did a special screening of the film. The original movie's director was there, did a Q&A at the end, and they did like it was in the original. I can't remember the type of millimeter print that it was, but it was in the original film's print. So it had all the little skips and bubbles, like it was given very much what do you call it? Grindhouse, the way that it kind of looks in the overall vision. What I love that I love when you watch something that's old and it kind of like skips and pops and all other stuff and doesn't look all perfect. I kind of like when they have that because it just has like a vintage overall look to it that I appreciate because I feel like you're watching something that's sacred and has kind of been put in a vault for a long time that they took out specifically for us. I feel special when I see stuff like that. But this thing has been in development hell since I believe 2013, and it was under a different producer owned it. And I remember during the Q&A, the original film's director was talking about like trying to get it out there and come up with another idea and get another movie made. But I guess nobody out there, you know, got him interested or wanting him to hook him in to be like, okay, I want to work with you guys. Now here comes Kenan Thompson, which I feel like is an odd pair because I guess when we look at Kenan Thompson, we think Nickelodeon, we think SNL, we think Kenan and Kel, we think Good Burger. We don't think horror. I mean, at least I don't. But according to Kenan, he said this is like one of his favorite movies. But let me find out you like this movie. And look, shout out to the trans community because the trans girls that was up in there when I was watching that Q&A, I mean when during the Q&A and we were watching the movie, they have no issue with the twist and all the other stuff and the trans allegory and all the other stuff that was in that film. They actually felt like this was sort of like their little revenge movie in a way. So they look at even though some people could look at it as problematic, they look at it as a badge of honor. And we're not going to sit up here and try to act like the acting wasn't atrocious. That's one of the one things that I love about Sleepaway Camp is the fact that yeah, the acting was god awful, but nevertheless, so was a lot of actors in the 80s. They acting was a choice when it came down to it. But that's not what we watch these movies for. We always watch it for the carnage candy. We watch it for the nudity. We watch it for the inappropriate, so they were saying. And one of my favorite characters probably because it reminds me of me, is Ricky. When he was up in there cussing on the people like, you mother, you pricks, and all of the stuff, cocksuckers. So Ricky up in there giving the finger and cussing and all of the stuff. He was like one of my favorite characters in the film. And Felissa Rose, shout out to her. Hopefully she will be in this film. But anyway, let's get in the article. So yeah, so apparently, since we talking about Kenan Thompson, he apparently secured the rights to the franchise and will be producing the film alongside Johnny Ryan Jr. through their company AFA. So specifics as to, and this is a shout out to Deadline, by the way, who broke this story. Specifics as to AFA's take on the material under wraps for now, but AFA has placed the film's writer director Robert Hiltzik back at the helm to direct from his own script. While for decades, Hiltzik and his wife have been approached for rights to the franchise, they've held out in hopes of a scenario where they can be involved in revitalizing the franchise. To Thompson and Ryan Jr., whose AFA places an emphasis on keeping creative control and ownership with the artist, keeping the original architects of the franchise at the forefront of its evolution is a given. Now, released in 1983, Sleepaway Camp is a low budget summer camp slasher in which a shy teen summer at Camp Arawak turns deadly as campers are murdered one by one. The film plays like a whodunit in the Friday the 13th mold, as it's famous for an iconic twisty finale. Hiltzik shot it at Camp Algonquin in Argyle, New York, which he attended as a kid. Made for roughly $350,000 with a cast of unknowns, the film grossed around $11 million and is endured as a cult favorite. Would it be considered a cult favorite if your budget was $350,000? and it made 11 million. That's kind of like with Halloween. Remember the original Halloween? It cost them like $300,000, and it made a quite a bit at the box office. But I don't know if they consider the original Halloween a cult favorite or a cult classic. I just think people look at it as a horror classic. But anyway, so yeah, and they came out with a number of sequels. So we had Sleepaway Camp 2 Unhappy Campers, which came out in 88, and Sleepaway Camp 3 Teenage Wasteland in 1989. And then you had Bruce Springsteen's sister, Pamela Springsteen, stepping in to play the role of Angela, because that was always how they said it. Angela. That was that other little brat that used to go in there and always say her name. I'm like, girl, why are you saying her name like that? Angela. Angela. I was like, girl, relax. You ain't got to do all of that. But that was, I guess, the director was eating it up, and it was just like, okay, I guess he was like, just go along with it. So, no stranger to summer camp, having starred alongside Ben Stiller in the Stephen Brill and Judd Apatow Penn Kids classic Heavyweights at the start of his career. Thompson will produce the reimagining for AFA alongside Ryan Jr., Robinson Velasco, Monica Weber, Corey Litwin, a bunch of other people who y'all probably like, who? And so it's not that important. So development on the script is underway right now, with the project making AFA's marking AFA's first since exiting their 3-year overall deal at Universal. Development is made possible by a new strategic partnership and investment from Schwartz, in a deal negotiated by a bunch of other people who y'all probably don't care about. So we don't need to get into that. But as far as like Robert Hiltzik, he said this to Deadline in a statement. He said, quote, "I am both thrilled and humbled to be working with AFA on the reimagined Sleepaway Camp. Though I have been approached by several companies regarding the remake of Sleepaway Camp, only AFA has shared my opinion and is excited to have me helm the film, therefore preserving the integrity of the original film for the fans, as well as introducing Sleepaway Camp to a whole new generation. Be prepared for a new member of the Sleepaway Camp family." And then Thompson told Deadline, excited to work with the original genius, Robert, and bring back to life a camp classic. So everybody's excited. And then also, Thompson's partner went and said this. He said, "I've been obsessed with the Sleepaway Camp franchise since I was a kid. We've wanted this title for 20 years and we're over the moon. Robert came back to write it. We're staying true to the OG story while Robert adding in some insane new twists. We're going crazy with the merch too." Now, they also talk about like when AFA was founded. We don't need to get into that. But um excited for this. I'm just wondering, because I know everybody's so politically correct now, and we're in this era of a lot of the newer generation wants to look back at old stuff. Oh, that was inappropriate. That's problematic. Oh, you can't get away with stuff like that now. And it's like, okay, y'all need to stop with the BS. Number one, I'm so glad I grew up at a time, even though 1983, um, I was an infant. I was. I was an infant. So I don't remember seeing that movie. I had to see it years later when I was old enough and aware to even know what the hell a sleepaway camp was. And yeah, like everybody else, I gagged over that twist. But it'd be interesting to see like how they reimagine it. I hope they still keep the little situation with Angela in the film and all that other stuff. But if they have other ways of coming up with different twists and turns with other characters, I definitely want to see that. It's kind of like similar to I don't know if y'all heard, but I think at Fantastic Fest, they actually showed a screening of Silent Night, Deadly Night, which was another controversial film that came out in the 80s. They remade it. Rowan Campbell's in it, who I absolutely love. I loved him in freaking Halloween Ends. I don't care what nobody say. Go argue with your mammy. I love that movie. I liked him in it. I just don't think that it felt a part of the trilogy. It felt like its own individual Halloween movie, but I thought he did a phenomenal job in it. But what I've been hearing is the fact that he did a phenomenal job as Billy in this new movie. There's a couple of new, like they've taken it and reimagined the original movie, which was shrouded in controversy. People were outside with picket signs promoting it. That's how controversial that movie was back in the day. And I don't remember all of this because I was, like I said, I was an infant. So I knew of this because I'd seen clips and stuff online and videos and things where they were talking about there were protests, and I've read articles. So that's how I was aware of the big controversy surrounding Silent Night, Deadly Night, and the fact that yeah, you making like some dude in a Santa suit going around hacking people up. So with this film and everything that's coming out, it's like there's the whole controversy around it. They said they came up with new twists and turns and came up with like a way to beef up what they kept the core of what was in the original film, but they're telling their own story. They were able to beef it up, and then of course with the performances, that was great. And then Cody Leach, because that's whose review I saw, he was just like he wanted more Carnage Candy, but if that was his only complaint about the film. But if they're gonna sacrifice a lot of Carnage Candy to give us amazing story and a lot of twists and turns, I'll take that over the lack of crazy kills. Maybe we'll get more Carnage Candy, similar to like Terrifier in Silent Night, Deadly Night 2. If there is a part two, if this Billy survives, I don't necessarily know how this film is, but I'm definitely gonna go see it in December. Then they could talk about adding more Carnage Candy. Same thing to Sleepaway Camp. I'll be definitely interested in seeing how they're gonna make this movie. And if because you had a girl. Well, shit, I don't know. Y'all had to have seen the movie. It's old. So if you're gonna do the whole thing where there's a trans twist at the end of Sleepaway Camp, I wonder if they're gonna cast a trans actor to play Angela. Because some people would have, some people get upset about it. I'm like, oh, then you're gonna have a cisgender person playing a trans character, all that other shit that they would say. Like, oh no, they have to be trans when we make the movie. So I'm just gonna hold my opinions on all of this until the film officially comes out. But in the meantime, I'm excited. I'm a little on the skeptic side because it's like I can't imagine. I don't know, just in my head, based off of I think Kenan's reputation, I don't know if I could see him doing the whole horror movie thing. But you'd be surprised with how people on what their exterior, what they really into behind the scenes. Cause I like serial killer shit. Look, I'm looking forward to seeing that Ed Gein. Even though I know it's gonna be an over exaggerated mess, I'm looking forward to seeing that Ed Gein series monster from Brian Murphy. We already know what it's gonna give. I'm gonna be watching, but I'll also be watching the documentaries and all the other stuff that's before it leads up to that season actually premiering. So shout out to you, Kenan. Shout out to all of y'all working behind this film, and I definitely want to hear from y'all. What do you guys think of this story? Are you excited to see for this news that we will be getting a Sleepaway Camp reimagining film, a reimagining of Sleepaway Camp? Kenan Thompson's being behind it, and what do you think, or what would you like to see them take on in regards of this film and making it? I don't know if I should say better because even though the film is the original is a classic, I don't know if I would want them to change anything. Some of the effects in that movie was crazy too, especially the guy that got hit with the pedophile that got the boiling water on him by the killer. So let me know what you guys think of this story in the comments down below.